Most vagus nerve exercises do not work, and some even make things worse. It can be like trying to meditate your way out of a bear attack. But after 5 years of testing, I've found 3 specific vagus nerve exercises that actually deliver and do what's promised. Each one works on its own to crush anxiety and stress, but the real magic happens when you combine them together. So let's dive in. First, let's talk about anxiety, because if we're going to try and stop anxiety fast with some vagus nerve exercises, it would help to understand what the hell anxiety even is. Now, to me in my life these days, I don't really use the word anxiety. I think I've probably been anxious for a lot of my life. I was never diagnosed like clinically or anything like that, but certainly a sense of being on edge, hypervigilant, OCD at different times. But I don't use that word anymore, anxiety. The word I prefer is activation. Now, what I mean by that is you've probably heard of fight or flight, right? The idea is something bad happens, a threat appears, whether it's a dog or a scary parent or a bear, and our system will try and run away, right? That's flight. If it can't run away, it will attack. That's fight. If it can't do those two things, it will freeze. Now, what drives that process is energy. If you're going to run away from a bear, you need a lot of energy to run, adrenaline and all that stuff, cortisol, all these different hormones and chemicals in the body, stress chemicals, you need that to run away. And if you're going to attack, if you're going to do the fight response, because say you get cornered and you can't run away, you attack, you still need all of that energy. That's a lot of energy. Your system is activated, to use that word. Now, if you can't run away and you can't fight the attacker off, you may freeze and play dead, right? This happens if you watch a National Geographic or an animal documentary and a cheetah takes down a gazelle and actually catches it. The gazelle will freeze and it will go basically paralytic, or totally numb, totally stiff as if it's already dead, in the hopes that the cheetah then leaves it alone and walks off, and then the gazelle can get to safety. We have a similar thing where mammals have the same kind of a thing. So we have something like that. But for the purposes of this video on vagus nerve exercises to stop anxiety now, the main thing to understand is that what's driving this process is energy, right? Stress chemicals, to run away, to attack. Even if we go into freeze, you think about, we play dead, the gazelle plays dead, but the second the cheetah gets distracted by the hyena, it's up and it's exploding out of there. It's going to run as fast as it can. Whether you call that fear or anger or just energy, or just activation, that's how I think about it. The nervous system is activated. We've gone like an upper bell curve of arousal, not that kind of arousal. Nervous system arousal going up, and then we have all this energy ready to run away. However, in life, sometimes we're not very good at discharging that stress, so we've held on to it for a long time. And that, to me, is what most people are referring to when they say anxiety, right? The anxiety is the system is stuck in a sense of it's not safe, right? So I need to keep releasing these stress chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, whatever it's called. Clearly not a scientist in this area, but I'm certainly a practitioner. And so that's the problem, right? The anxiety is activation in the system. The activation is adrenaline, cortisol, the stress chemicals, which is trying to get us to run away. That's why we want to leave the room. That's why we're shy. That's the anxiety. And so why is that happening? Well, if you think about the gazelle in the savannas of Africa, why does it want to run away? Because it feels unsafe. So you could look at anxiety as just active. I prefer activation because anxiety's got sort of a negative, it colors it. It's sort of a negative connotation. Activation feels very neutral to me. So I think about it like activation. The reason our system activates is because it feels unsafe. So anxiety is just activation, and activation is really just you don't feel safe. So once we get to that point, right, if you want to stop anxiety, what you have to do is you have to start feeling safe. And once you start feeling safe, that's when the anxiety starts to come down, because the system's like, oh, I'm safe. I don't need to keep pumping out adrenaline and cortisol and all this stress stuff. I don't need to be anxious and on edge like this. And this is why I wanted to have this context to explain. That's where the vagus nerve exercises come in. Because while you do have the vagus nerve, there's a few parts to it. One part does go down the back to your gut. One part goes down the front. Now, this part that goes down the front goes to your heart, your chest, this whole area here, and that's we would call your social engagement system. It's a nice state of, relaxed focus if you're having dinner with friends or something like that. And to some degree, you want a little bit of this backside dorsal vagal when you're trying to sleep at night and digest some food. Okay, so this is where the vagus nerve comes in. If we can learn to activate that in a certain type of way, it can actually really help us to feel safe. And when we feel safe, we don't feel activated because our system's like, well, I don't need to run away. I don't need to attack. I'm safe. And it starts to come down. Okay? So that's where the vagus nerve exercises come in. Now, you've probably seen a bunch of this stuff all over Instagram and YouTube and all the social media platforms with these little vagus nerve exercises. Just do this one breath. Take a deep breath. Pull on your ear. That's why I did that. And maybe that stuff works. I never got too into that. You can use your voice. But by far, the most powerful thing you can do is the 3 simple vagus nerve exercises I'm going to give you right now, okay? So the first vagus nerve exercise is to simply, remember how I said that the problem, if you feel anxious, is that anxiety is activation, which is really just a sign that you feel unsafe. The solution then is to feel safe, to let your system know it's safe. The problem is, you can't really talk to your nervous system through words. You can say I'm safe, but it doesn't mean much unless you actually feel safe. So the question is, how do we talk to the nervous system and how do we talk to this vagus nerve and say, hey, buddy, hey, cupcake, it's safe. I'm glad you asked. The first step, the first vagus nerve exercise I want to give you is simply to orient to the safety in your environment. So this is something that very few people do, it's so simple and so almost trivial when you think about it. But just look around right now and see, is it safe? Right? It's not about the words, it's not about the affirmation of I'm safe. You want to literally look around your space, your environment, and see, is it safe right now? Like actually have a look around. Is there anyone dangerous, anything dangerous? Most of us never, ever actually do this. But the act of doing it, actually, we're giving our nervous system the data that it needs to know that it's safe. So instead of saying the words which it doesn't necessarily understand, we're showing it through looking around, colors, light. You can even use sound as well if you want. Can you hear anything dangerous? We're orienting to the safety or lack of safety in our environment. Now, this is the first vagus nerve exercise I want to share with you in this video. One quick side note here is that when we've been through a lot of stress in our life, trauma early on, just lots of bad things happening, stress, we actually get very good at seeing danger. So we're very good at seeing all the stuff that's out of place, all the signs of danger, all the signs of threat. And part of this process of healing, of stopping anxiety now, regulating the nervous system, is learning to cultivate, to build a new map of safety, to learn to actually see it's safe, to start to pay attention. It actually is safe right now. Because our brain, we're in a habit of always looking for danger. So no wonder we often feel stressed and anxious. If we start looking for safety, we might actually find it. And like I said, when we find the safety, the anxiety, the activation, which is just other words for not feeling safe, can start to come down. So try it right now. Look around. In the nervous system world, we call this orienting. If there's ever a loud noise around you, you're going to orient towards that sound without even thinking about it. Orienting is the word that someone came up with for it. It's not literally what it is, of course. It's just a word, just a name. But we're taking a moment to look around and see, is it safe right now? If it's a little bit conceptual, if you're not sure what that means, you might think about, okay, well, if it was dangerous right now, what would that look like? It might mean that there is someone screaming. It might mean that there's a tiger or a bear or a tsunami or some crazy thing falling from the sky, right? And I find simply noticing the absence of these things, the absence of physical threats, Don't worry about the mental threats for now. I'll cover that in another video. Today, it's just the physical threats. Can you see anything immediately dangerous in your immediate environment? And it's really as simple as just noticing that. There's nothing else that needs to be done. That's vagus nerve exercise 1 for stopping anxiety fast. 1 of 3. We've got 2 more to come. But before I get to number 2 and 3, remember, if this is useful to you, if this is valuable, if this is helping you, please subscribe to this channel, Rage Heart, for more. My name is John Ward. I'm the founder of Rage Heart, and I got into this stuff a few years ago, and it changed everything for me. I can describe it, long story, in some other videos. I've got a podcast, a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, it changed everything for me. After trying all the different things people do, meditation and journaling and all of that, to try and be more relaxed and be more calm, be happier. What I'm teaching you, this is the first sort of where it starts, but this path of nervous system healing is it for me. So anyway, if you enjoy it, please subscribe, and there'll be more videos like this. So number 2, vagus nerve exercise is we've looked around, right? Oriented to the safety in our environment. The next step is to feel the ground. When was the last time, I might ask, that you felt the ground? Like, have you felt the ground once? Or the chair, if you're in a chair, you might be in bed. Basically, we're trying to feel now our connection to the environment through our sense of touch. When was the last time you felt that? Recently? It can be quite revealing. Now, the reason these things work is because if you were being chased a bear, if you were truly unsafe right now, you would probably be trying to run away or attack. You would not be taking the time to feel the ground. So by taking a moment right now to feel the ground or the chair beneath you, you send a very clear message to your nervous system that it's safe. What we're doing here is learning to talk to our nervous system through the language of sensation, colors, sounds. Pretty cool, huh? If you need to, you can wiggle. If you need to generate some sensation in your feet. I'm standing up, but you might be in a chair. You can move around just to kind of get a feel for, can you actually feel the ground right now? And finally, step 3, the third vagus nerve exercise in this video on how to stop anxiety fast, is to notice your breath without changing it, I might add. So this is not a meditative exercise where you track your breath, where you count your breath, where you take a deep breath, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for it's none of that stuff. It's not box breathing. Can you pay attention to your breath without controlling it? I heard a very beautiful description of this recently in a book by a guy named Francis Lucille, something like that. Anyway, the idea is when you listen to the rain, when you listen to the wind, you don't have an agenda for it generally. It's just there. You're not trying to slow the rain down or speed it up, especially if you like the rain. So can you do that with your breath, where you notice it, it's there, but you're almost indifferent to it, whether it goes fast or slow, shallow or deep, it just kind of does what it does. Can you pay attention to your breath in that way? It's tricky. It can be tricky, depending on if you've ever practiced this before, but it is a very useful skill. And again, we're sending that message to our nervous system that it is safe, that there are no bears right now. No tsunamis, no screaming people with guns or knives, assuming there are not any of these things. So try that. Just notice your breath. Just do your best. We're here to learn. It's not about being perfect. How is your breath going right now if you don't try and control it? And if there are any sensations that crop up as you do this, that's okay too. And you can stop. I should have said that at the beginning. You can stop this at any time, of course. We're just on YouTube. There's no medals for finishing the entire video. If something comes up, it sometimes can, it's okay. We just pause, come back to this later. But if there are sensations, there can be yawns and sighs and something in the stomach and the shoulders dropping and all kinds of things. Because as we feel safe, our nervous system goes, oh, great. I can let those shoulders down now. Oh, I can let out that yawn that I've been holding on for the last 7 hours. And finally, like I said in the beginning, where this gets really interesting is when you start to add these techniques together. So instead of looking around, orienting to the safety in your environment, and then feeling the ground, what would it be like to orient, to see what's around you and feel the ground? So it's kind of like I explain it to people like we've got the environment that we're seeing and then we have the ground, right? And we weave them together like a piece of string. Just see what that's like. Have a play with that. And it may be difficult, it may be easy. We're all different. And play with it. It doesn't have to be the ground and the environment. It could be the ground and your breath. Two things. It could be the breath and the environment. How does that feel? And for the real magic, the final finale, what would it be like if it feels like it's worth a try to you to do all three of these things at the same time? So look around, feel the ground, and notice your breath all together at the same time. Noticing any changes in the body as you do this. It's like you're listening to the wind or the birds. Your body, its sensations are just like a bird on the tree. Something to listen to, but not anything to get too concerned with. And what happens when you do that? When you do two things at the same time, or three, what do you notice that's different in your sense of yourself? Did anything change? How do you feel now compared with when we began this video? You feel different. If this was useful, if these vagus nerve exercises, which to me is really one, ultimately exercise, it's one exercise of ground, environment, breath all together, and there's an infinite number of ways we can start to play with this. We can bring in movement to it. We can bring in sound. And this is exactly what I teach people how to do at the Rage Heart Academy, at Rage Heart. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to learn more about this, there's actually a 20-minute guided exercise where it's mainly just this. It's less of the theory and more of just the practice. If you'd like to do that, you can get it for free. It's on my YouTube channel. I will put the end screen. There'll be a video here on the page somewhere, depending on where it ends up. But they'll click that video. That'll take you to the first lesson. I call them, it's a rage 1 inside the Rage Art Academy. Like I said, it's free. So if you want to go deeper, take that, do that, see how that feels, and we'll go from there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.